Like, I read it in a book that it sounded like there's a monster inside.
Hello, my name is Colleen, and I am so excited about this new podcast we're doing together. Do you want to tell everybody your name?
My name is Albert.
Albert? How do we know each other?
Because you're my mom.
I'm your mom? You guess. And where are we right now? Do you remember?
New York.
That's right, we're in New York. Is this where we normally live, though?
No.
Where do we normally live?
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. And we live near what city? Big city?
Boston.
That's right, Boston. Did you know that Boston is actually the largest city in New England?
I did not know that.
Yeah, see? Pretty cool. Well, actually, we're going to talk about Boston today, aren't we?
Yeah.
Now, before we even start talking about that, what is your favorite topic in school if you had to choose of all of the topics?
History.
History? Really? I got to tell you, I really like history, too. You and I both like history so much. We go to museums and we check stuff out. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we take notes, we take pictures. So we're going to talk about a topic today that does have to do with Boston. It happened over 100 years ago. And what is the topic?
The Boston Molasses Flood.
The Molasses Flood. A molasses flood? Why? Was there molasses in the ocean or something like that?
No. There is a pretty big storage tank. Yeah.
There was a storage tank?
Yeah, that was filled of 2.3 million gallons of molasses.
That's interesting. Now, that number, as we were doing our research together, I heard different numbers. I heard as low as 2.3 million, and I heard as high as 2.6 million, which is interesting. Did we find that a lot? I think I found that. Did you find that there were some variations?
Well,
we can talk about it as we go, because I think we're going to find that there were some variations. So, first, let's talk about where this tank was built. Do you remember?
The north end.
The north end of Boston, that's right. And from what I recall, there were mostly immigrants from Italy living in the north end at the time. And how were they treated?
Not very good.
Not very well at all, right? They didn't have a lot of power. They didn't have a voting voice. Mm-hmm. So when the company, which was called the United States Industrial Alcohol Company, decided they were going to build a tank, they stuck it right in their neighborhood. It's a residential neighborhood, and they put a huge tank in the middle of it.
It was very ugly, and it blocked the view.
That's right. It's ugly. It blocked the view. And as we'll learn, it was not built very well.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So we're starting with that. First, they build this big tank. And tell me a little bit about the building of the tank. Did they have a specialist there, like an engineer who oversaw the building of the tank?
No, they didn't.
They didn't. Instead, they had this guy who was actually in charge of like the finance in terms of the numbers there. Let me look up his name here. It says the on-site manager was Isaac Gonzalez, and this was a good guy. But the guy who was in charge truly of the project was Arthur, and I've seen it spelled Gel and Gell. So I'm not sure how it was pronounced. But he was in charge of the construction, and he was actually a treasurer. That's the numbers guy, right? He's in charge of the money at the company, but he's not an engineer.
Yeah.
So, do you want to talk a little bit about what happens with this? And
okay.
you could either read or you could just talk about it. It's up to you.
So, on January 15th, 1919, in the north end of Boston, the storage tank burst.
It burst.
Yeah, and the sound was like a machine, like bullets.
Oh, like a machine gun?
Yeah.
Why was there a sound of machine gun?
Because all of the rivets popped out.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I think it like hit some people.
Oh, that wouldn't surprise
like,
me. Yeah.
And it sent a 35-foot wave.
That's crazy. Now, I've seen anywhere from, I think the lowest number I saw
was 15.
Was 15, and the highest number I saw was 35. So this is another example of depending on where you're researching, depending on who you're listening
and also,
to, it's
it
a
was
little different.
probably like higher when it first burst.
Oh, good point. Good point. In the beginning, it's huge, and
Yeah.
then maybe as it gets farther away, it's not quite as big.
Yeah.
So was that a surprise to the people who were around there?
Not really.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I was reading that.
That they like heard like noises coming from the tank.
That's right.
And like groaning noises. Like I read it in a book that it sounded like there's a monster inside.
That's terrifying. Could you imagine a huge tank? And I read that the tank was something like 25 feet tall or something. How tall was it? Do you remember?
No.
I don't remember the exact, so I don't want to say how big it was, because it was a very big. Oh, I think it was a 50-foot tall tank actually. But I heard that it was making all kinds of noises, and what was interesting is, of course, Arthur Gell is the one who's in charge, right? And this Isaac Gonzalez, who was on site, was pretty nervous, and he said to Arthur, "I'm worried about this tank," and he said, "Look, there's even molasses leaking."
Yeah, and
out of the side.
The kids went to it with sticks, and they like licked it off the stick.
Yeah, they would take the sticks, and they had buckets and cans and stuff, and they would fill it with molasses every day because there was that much leaking. Do you know what Arthur did to solve the problem of all of the leaking molasses that they could see on the side?
He painted?
He repainted the tank so it looked like molasses, so you couldn't see where the stuff was seeping out. So I think that's pretty crazy.
What was the original color?
I don't know what
Was
the
it,
original color was.
Silver or like normal?
It might have been the color of the metal that they used. It could have been. I didn't really see anything about the original color, but so eventually, because he was so nervous, Isaac Gonzalez quit. He resigned. He was like, "I'm not sticking around for this." So the thing had been groaning, and then on the 15th of January, now I had read that in the days leading up to the 15th, it was really cold out. And then on the 15th, it started to get warmer in the lead up to that. So that the tank, the molasses inside, which some of it was warm and some of it was cold, the combination of the two and the expansion from the gases and the fermentation process happening, then what happens? So you hear the rivets going like a machine gun.
And then it exploded.
It exploded in this huge wall of molasses.
Yeah, like 30 foot maybe.
Maybe a 35-foot wave in the beginning. Comes flowing out, and it's taking everything in its path, right?
So it destroyed several buildings and homes. It destroyed the Boston Albany Railroad freight terminal, which was completely destroyed, and several homes and businesses crushed or swept off their foundations.
That's crazy. I read that there was an elevated train track there. It was between the North End and the South Station.
In some pictures.
Yeah, North Station and South Station, and that there was this guy. Let me find it. His name was Royal Albert Lyman. I like his name, don't you? He was so smart, he was able to stop the trains from going off of the edge because the elevated track had been torn down by the molasses. So there could have been more people killed, but he stopped that from happening. So what else? Was there anybody hurt or killed in it?
There was 21 people killed, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
And like a few hundred injured.
Yeah, I read somewhere around maybe 150, but then the numbers started to vary again.
Yeah.
And was it all people, or was it?
No, there were some horses,
Yeah,
livestock.
And I heard that, there were some dogs too, maybe, that were there. And so it was pretty awful, but it's interesting because I even found this thing where after all of this was over, they went to court, and I was reading some of the statements, and this guy, Philip Leyden, stated under oath, this is in a courtroom, he said, "We could feel it, the vibration, bulging in and out. There was always a big leak, too, near the junction of the second and third plates. Molasses ran down the side of the tank, enough for the children in the neighborhood to be there every day to get a dose of it. They would be here from early morning till late at night." And this other gentleman, William Foster, revealed that one of the company's quick fix remedies had been said the tank kept leaking right up to the time of the collapse. You could not notice it unto the last, because they repainted the tank. It was kind of a dark reddish brown, and you couldn't see the molasses as clearly, right? So This giant explosion happens. I read that the disaster occurred only for about 20 to 25 minutes. So it was a pretty fast thing.
Oh, and also, I think this stopped the like rescue efforts, but the like a fire station collapsed.
No way, really?
It was Firehouse of Engine 3, I think.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
So that's scary because those are the firefighters or the first responders you count on to help out, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they were even dealing with a problem over there. What a mess that must have been.
Yeah.
And I read that there were about 2 to 3 feet of molasses that were just sitting in like several city blocks. And that the temperatures got cold again. So it kind of like froze in place. Yeah. And that people, so even the people who had survived initially, some of them didn't make it because they struggled in the molasses.
And people probably went a little like blind a little bit because of the molasses went in their eyes.
Oh, could be. That's what a mess. So now, is that all you read about the explosion part and the mess? Should we talk about the cleanup?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. You ready for that?
Mm-hmm.
So, how many people did they use to clean it up?
300 workers, including 116 Navy cadets from the USS Nantucket.
That's right. So they freed some of the injured people, and then they collected the dead.
Yeah. And there's also like surgeons who came and like other...
That's crazy. And I heard that they had to, bring in these welders to like cut up the remaining tank. We even saw pictures of this, which is pretty crazy because, there was photography back then.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't that great, though.
No. I mean, well, it's black and white, but still pretty clear, right? They disposed of chunks of the cold molasses in the harbor. So they were cutting that up and sticking it out there. And then there was a firefighter who realized that salt water, the seawater, would actually break up the molasses. So they pumped the seawater from the harbor in, and that helped them clean it up. But I read that it was roughly 87,000 man-hours to clean it up. Do you know what man-hours means?
No.
So let's say there is one person working, it would take them 87,000. But if there were 2 people working, it would be half of that because there are 2, right? So if there were 10, it would be 1/10 of that.
But I heard
right?
it was like 2 weeks, maybe.
But it sounds about right. But I heard that they were still working on it for months because they still had to rebuild buildings. They had to do a bunch of stuff. It's a real mess. So now, do we want to talk about the next part of this?
Sure.
Okay.
So what we learned.
What we learned. Okay, so what's the final part of this? Well, actually, let's do the cleanup part because there was more there. So there was a legal situation, right? Because there were so many people killed and so many people hurt.
Sue.
That's right. So I read somewhere between 110 and 125 legal claims were combined. And it was the largest class action lawsuit in the state's history. Do you know what a class action lawsuit is?
No.
It's when a group of people get together and say, we were all harmed. So we're going to all get together and we're going to pool our resources and we're going to take one case against this company. And so they brought it against the U.S. Industrial Alcohol Company. And guess what the U.S. Industrial Alcohol Company said? Guess whose fault they said it was? Remember?
No.
It's a weird word.
It was it was like the
Anarchists. Yeah, exactly. So the anarchists were sort of a political party, but they had also been doing things that they shouldn't have been doing in the area. Like there had been a number of explosions.
And some people said it was like they bombed.
That's right. So they said, the company said, no, anarchists bombed it.
Yeah.
Which was partially, you know what part of the reason they did that?
Why?
It's because a lot of the people who were in the anarchy party were actually Italian immigrants. So they were taking advantage of the fact that there were 40,000 Italian immigrants and Italian former people whose relatives had come from Italy, that they were all living there. So they took advantage of that because those are people, as we learned earlier, were not treated well and they didn't have much of a voice. So they tried to blame it on them. But the judge found them at fault. He said, this is Judge William Ogden. He said, no bomb or high explosive and no traces of a bomb or high explosive were discovered at or near the scene of the accident. No anarchist or other evilly disposed person was seen at or near the tank upon the day of the accident. No evidence was offered to connect the statements of fact set out in the offer of proof. So it sounds to me like the judge basically said, in no circumstances did we find any proof that it was the anarchists, right? And then the last thing I would say about the after the cleanup was that the disaster changed how things were done when it comes to industrial construction. Because as we know, Arthur Gell had no experience. He was not an engineer. This is not the guy you put in charge. When you've got an important job, you want to hire someone who's an expert. Am I right?
And then they made like new rules that.
Yeah. So in these new rules, I'm going to quote somebody. This is the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics. So there were new expectations set in the safety field, and they said this: the day is here when the qualifications for an inspector demand not only intelligent persons, not only those well-equipped with industrial training, not only the specialist in industry, but the men and women, to some extent at least, who have a high appreciation of the importance of the work they are doing. So I think they said, let's do this the right way from now on, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So now, what did we learn?
Don't build a big tank of molasses in the north end.
That's true. We learned, first of all, don't build it in the middle of a residential neighborhood.
Don't hire people who don't know how to do their job.
Exactly. Something that important with that much molasses. And let's face it, molasses is heavy. We know that water is heavy, right? Mm-hmm. So did you know that water is roughly 8.5 pounds per gallon? Oh. So let's say if it was the same weight as water, and I'm just going to do a quick calculation here, and let's say it's 2.3 million gallons times 8.5, that would be almost 20 million pounds.
So 90 million, 550,000.
That's right. That's a lot. So let's say from now on, don't do that. Right? Yeah. Don't do that. Well, this was really interesting. Thank you so much for doing this with me, Albert, and bringing up a really cool topic. This topic is not only great history, but it's about Boston, where we live.
Yeah.
And guess what else?
What?
I think you're cool. And I love you.